She has an idea. Nico spots them and he is instantly covered in blue flames from Yutsutsu. The magic doesn't work on him, so he makes fun of her for trying something so meager after experiencing his power firsthand. While he makes fun of her, he starts seeing butterflies and he is ensnared by Ru's technique from behind. She stabs the Gizzer and leaves him to roll down the stairs. Yutsutsu goes over to the bleeding Gizzer and confirms him to be dead before running up the stairs with Rui. After they leave, Nichu gets up and his injuries revert to normal. Meanwhile, Junjin urges Haru to grant Hiki her desire either by slaying her or working out with her. Hiki suddenly loses her memory and wonders who the people around her are, but Jun then quickly makes up lies to patch her up. As the girls ascend the stairs, they suddenly see Nichu, whom they thought they killed earlier, to be alright, but this time around he stands on his demon. Nichu introduces one more card to their table. Shigen walks from behind and they notice he isn't in his right state of mind. The girls call out to Shich again, but he still charges to kill them. They evade and Rui uses her ability on him, but it doesn't work. As for Haru, he tells Jujin that the reason he and Hiki were given their powers is to defeat people who only see the blood in their veins as tools, and he says that he plans to use the full potential of their powers to defeat the Jujina. He calls her Oboro before kissing her and asks that she return his feelings. He activates his power and she too does the same. On the other hand, the girls conclude the statue behind Shigen functions in the same manner as Nichu's demon. Shigen then strikes at them, but they dodge his attack again. Rui, who luckily happens to stand ahead of the statue, gets called his mother. Seeing that, she decides to roleplay as his mom. Instinctively, Shion pours out his hormones and slowly walks up to her, but the mother-obsessed freak gets close and then stabs himself with his sword. Immediately Nichu bleeds out and Yutsutsu uses the opportunity to uproot his head. While the couples use their powers, Hiu breaks through the window and slashes Moku, stopping him from his chant. Rui puts on her dress, wears her eye patch and joins Yutsutsu as they climb the stairs. Suddenly a huge demon's hand flies in their direction and smacks them to the ground. The perpetrator, who happens to be Nakia, he too suddenly suffers grave injuries as the demon disappears due to reaching its limits in bearing the old man wounds. Upon Hido's dramatic entrance into the scene, Jujin announces violence to be the only way forward. Hiki finally regains her senses, and she glares at the old croak with pure hatred and disgust. Hadu then engages Kujaku in battle, leaving Jujin with the Uka users, so Jujin then tells the Kuga head to come at him. Meanwhile, Hadu bears new wounds while in the battle with Kujaku, and he leaps into the air, throwing his weapon at his enemy just before the blade touches Kaku's neck. He uses his ability to return the attack to the owner, but Hadu manages to evade his attack. Due to that, he is struck down by Kujaku as he lands, making him fall deeper into the castle. Haro, on the other hand, struggles against Juin. He raises his weapon to end Hataru, but he is then attacked by a swarm of pink butterflies, followed by a strong illusionary fire. To wrap it up, Hiki uses her ability on him, knocking him out. While glares at him, the girls, who use their last energy to deploy their ninja techniques, pass on and roll down the stairs, and the last illusion left out of Yutsutsu is a beautiful mermaid in a white dress. Jujin gets up and, although a bit bloodied, he plans to fight the Iga and Kuga heads alone. Kujaku stabs Wayne from behind, claiming that he's sick of the way the master planner calls his name. Kujaku drags Wan's body to the seat where Tona's body is. He then cuts Jujin open and pours his blood on his master's skull. Suddenly eyeballs grow out of the skull, flesh returns to the head and the body comes to life and stands up. Nobunaga then walks forward, and Ramaru bows. All the shogun does is look down on him in disgust and call him ugly. Namena spoils the reunion by yelling at the Uka users to get the hell out of the castle with her. She ignites the thread she is holding and the tower begins to break down. Explosions start happening everywhere while she flees with the clan leaders. Suddenly the whole scene reverses and Moku quickly cuts the thread from spreading the fire ignited by Namena, but to everyone's surprise, Noaga stabs him from behind and insults him with everyone except Namba and the clan leaders slain. The Kunoichi tells them that they can't let the Demon King live. Nobunaga asks the people before him who they are, and Kuga asks him if he knows he has returned from the dead. The man laughs at the thought of death and says that he can never die. He clashes with Kuga, and the former asks the party if they work for Mitsu, saying he'll conquer China and Malaysia. The men continue to clash their blades and Kuga compels the shogun to kill himself. The spell works as the man then stabs his own chest, but he doesn't bleed. By the time he regains his senses, he asks what trick they used on him. Just then Nama Leaps at him and uses her cloak to wrap him. She deflects his weapon and then throws an explosive, but just before she can flee with the rest, Noaga stabs her from behind. As a result, Nama falls to the ground and is caught in the explosion, but they notice that through the smoke no Bonaga emerges, but within him Tadanaga struggles to gain control over the body. He asks who is before him, and Kuga answers him. Once the Saruga ruler learns that Juin has been slain, he puts up a fight with Nobunaga before using his sword to separate Nobunaga's skull from his body. Watching the scene before him, Kawa calls ninjas nothing but toys and then runs away with Hibiki. Moku, thinking he is the only one left alive, struggles on his feet as he wonders what is left of their dream. Suddenly he spots Kujaku picking his hourglass and tossing it in the air, and immediately the thing shatters. The flow of time in the castle starts to malfunction. The Uka user stop descending the staircase and run back up due to the stairs disintegrating. The clan leaders spot Seizu running down the stairs and follow him as more of their friends who lead the way appear. Haru tells Hiki that they are no longer a part of their world. They finally get out of the castle, but they meet all the Juin Shu members to be alive, marveling at the sight of an ongoing war. Surprisingly, the Jujin Shu do not know them, and Haru then realizes that they are in an alternate timeline where the Jujin Shu do not know of their existence. Haru charges at them and starts by clashing swords with Moku, calling him the most troublesome. However, he faints and then quickly ends Kujaku, who didn't expect the surprise attack. Next he goes for Itaru. To her surprise, he closes his eyes and slays her, shattering the mirror. Moku finally realizes what Haru has done, so he charges him with killing intent. Haru activates his visual prowess and Moku slays himself. Nico summons his demon and tries attacking Haru, but Hiki compels him to freeze immediately. Haru pounces on the geyser and cuts him multiple times. The clan leaders then activate their final technique. They used the true form on Jujin and it caused him to bleed, quenching the flames of war around them. Haru then approaches the injured man and slashes him with everything, supposedly ending the couple's plan to get rid of Uka. Haru volunteers and takes his blade to end himself, but Hiki compels him to stop, so she takes the blade from him and blinds herself. Minutes after pouring out their emotions, Wayne gets up, shocking them. Haru sees the slash wound healing and immediately confirms it to be Tenzen after finding out that the legends about the tree being immortal or true Jujin, who doesn't have any business with the folks before him, says he has no choice but to cut them down due to the future possibility of interference. The mastermind attacks Haru, but the lad struggles to fend him off somehow, so he attacks the blind Hiki, who happens to be looking for Haru, and in the process Haru uses his body as a meat shield. Immediately Haru starts insulting Wayne for being shameless to stoop so low to acquire Tenzen's power. Haru activates his eyes and Jujin is compelled to grab his own neck and pull Tenzen out of it, thereby killing himself. Later Hiki stays under the Tenzen tree and a family finds her. Years later things go almost accordingly like in the previous timeline. Tanaga rebels against the Shogunate and he is executed years later after his brother's death at the Tenon tree. The little versions of the clan head comrades play about. Hei stays by the Tenzen tree all alone, and the moment after the kids leave for their meal, Jujin appears once again, pestering Hiki as Jujin gets close to her. House spirit shows up and slays the pesky villain. He finally fades away after seeing that Jujin is dead, and Hiki ends up sensing